Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show, we'll be doing a in-depth episode of Kings Island. This is a theme park which opened in 1972 in Ohio in the US. It is currently owned by Cedar Fair, the people who own Cedar Point and Canada's Wonderland. It is a theme park that I've only spent one day at, as that's all the time we had to go there. And that day happened to be on Memorial Day, which was a really beautiful sunny Monday, I believe. It was generally a really, really enjoyable park. Unfortunately, because it was really busy, it was a nice day and a public holiday for people in the US, we happened to have to go and get the fastpass for it, which was about $85 or £63, I think it works out as. And that made a huge difference to our day, but also obscures sight of the review because queuing and how many rides we were able to go on are slightly changed by the fact that we managed to skip a load of queues. I would say if you're only going to a park for a day and that theme park has a lot of major attractions such as Kings Island, I'd highly recommend always going for the fast pass. If you're not going to be going there again or very unlikely to go there in the near future, again, I'd always recommend going for the fast pass. However much it is, you're there for a certain period of time, you need to make the most of it. I know people do have a slight thing against, fast pass and stuff like that. They think it's a little bit, cheating that you don't have to queue for any other rides, but it's well worth doing if you're in the situation where you aren't there for multiple days or you don't go there all the time. Now, Kings Island is a very kind of surprising park in the fact that it isn't talked about anywhere near as much as it should be. This rides that it has are stunning. So, for example, I would say they have four major attractions. Banshee, which is a B&M inverted roller coaster, quite frankly superb. I mean, it was built in the old location of Southern Beast, which is a really cool wooden roller coaster, which unfortunately I didn't get to experience. But this has 7 inversions. It has a really cool drop. It has a really, really cool station. It has a really cool logo and little sound effects as you're going over the drop. It's really cool. It's generally speaking a really good ride. It was built in 2014 and it is smooth and just generally really pleasant. It's a really good ride to have at the park. Following that, I would also say the next major roller coaster would have to be the Beast. Now, this is a really, really classic wooden roller coaster, which is almost as old as the park itself. I mean, it opened in 1979. It's still the longest wooden roller coaster in the world somehow, despite being almost 40 years old. And I will be honest, it does show that length a little bit. For example, the first half of the ride is it's okay, it's decent, but it's not anything to write home about. But the last half of it, after the incredibly slow lift hills, that the speed you get, and I believe it's a 720 helix going around, is insane. So good, such a great way of ending a roller coaster as well. You just seem to fly along. Even when you're going uphill, you seem to be gaining speed. I'm not quite sure how that works, but it's just absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's surprisingly smooth. I didn't have to queue that long for it, again, because of the fast pass coming in play. The train was pretty comfortable. There's a lovely little thing of seeing loads of wristbands and stuff like that on a roof near the first drop. It seems to be a little thing of going on, which was really cool. I kind of really like those little touches. I mean, it's just a really good ride. I mean, it's possibly overrated in some ways, but I can appreciate why it's considered a classic and a bit of a legendary coaster. It's just got a lot going for it, really. Following that, we have the newest ride, which is Mystic Timbers, which opened this year in 2017. And it's really weird. Nothing about this ride really pops out at you. I mean, it's under 110 feet tall. It isn't particularly quick at speeds of 53 miles per hour. It's not hugely long. It's about 3,250 foot long. But what it does do is it has 16 airtime hills, and it absolutely hurtles along the track at ridiculous speed and intensity. It's just a really, really good layout, and everything just seems better for some reason. It's really well built and designed, and it just really fits with the area of the park it's in. It seems to also go out into the woods and interact with the rapid ride they have. It's really perfect. It's probably my top 10, and it's probably, and I'm going to say it, and people will dislike this, but I think it's better than the Beast. It's probably the best ride in the park, actually. It's just great. It just ticks so many boxes. It's also great for families. It literally is just, it just has everything you could possibly really want. And then the last major ride we'll get to is Diamondback, which opened in 2009. It's a hypercoaster by B&M, so you know it's going to be on the good side of excellent. And it's just really faultless, really. I mean, it has a big drop, it's 70 metres tall. It's long, like over 5,000 feet. It has a really good top speed at 80 miles an hour. It's a really good hypercoaster. It has a really cool little 2 and then 2 further out seating, which is absolutely great. It's got about 5 major airtime hills. It has a water splashdown element, which is really, really cool. Not many hypercoasters have those. Shambhala does, and that's about it. But yeah, it's a really, really good ride. Now, the thing is, that's a really, really good top 4, and yeah, you might be like, that's really good. Nice variety of them as well. They're all mixed. The thing is, that's not the only roller coasters Kings Island has. They have Firehawk, which is a Vekoma Flying Dutchman, and it's actually the first of that type of roller coaster I've ever been on. I've been on only one of the other, as in air for the B&M Flyers, and I was really, really impressed. I thought it was actually a really, really good ride. I got a lot of force through it. I thought it was pretty comfortable. I thought it was really interesting and unique. I really enjoyed it personally. I mean, people tend to complain a lot about the kind of Flying Dutchman, so they don't get that much like kind of respect or praise. But this one was actually really, really good. Really, really enjoyed it. I mean, it's one of those rides I actually really look forward to going on the other ones they have around in the US. Then we have also got like Flight of Fear, which admittedly is a like launch coaster, which I believe is literally just a carbon copy of the ones you get in Disneyland to Disneyland Paris and such. But yeah, really, really good. I mean, the fact it just has lap bars as well was really, really impressive, and it has a really good launch. The kind of theming works really well for it. Yeah, I was really, really impressed with how good a ride it was. It was in a good location. Kind of utilising the kind of like the fact that it's kind of built into a kind of like pretty much like a silo kind of secret military base. It works really well, and the launch, really, really good launch. Excellent stuff. I mean, we're going to move on to like Vortex as well, which is a roller coaster I've heard quite a lot of criticism of, and I personally thought it was really decent. I mean, it has 6 pretty cool loops. It's quite a long ride. It has a really good like drop. It has generally was quite smooth. I mean, the train wasn't overly comfortable. It was a little bit cramped, but I mean, it's quite an old ride. I mean, it's 30 years old at the moment, so I think you can give it a little bit of leeway when it comes to comfort in some ways, because it's pretty revolutionary when it was built and such. So, and it's really, really photogenic. I mean, you get some really cool angles of it when you're taking photos of the park. Following that, we do have the Racer, which is quite possibly the one ride in this park that I really dislike. Partly because I thought it would be really good. It has lots of airtime, it has a decent drop, it opened with the park and such like that, which is all really, really cool. But it was just really meh. I mean, it's a wooden roller coaster which races, so that's a good tick. The only downside, it's made by a manufacturer that I haven't really heard of, so that's not really a good start, is it? When it's like I've not really heard of that. Just a little bit disappointed with that. I mean, we also then have like a backlot stunt coaster as well, and I've been on the one at Cannon's Wonderland, so I didn't actually bother with it. They pretty much have the exact same layout, so I'd give them a miss if you're only there for one day. They're very, very unimportant rides in my opinion. We do also then have the Bat, which is an aerodynamic suspended roller coaster, and it's actually a really, really cool ride. I mean, I will be honest, it kind of has a lot going for it in the fact that it's kind of miles away from the rest of the park for some unknown reason. But it's really, really cool. I generally really enjoyed going on the Bat as well. Really smooth ride. In fact, all the aerodynamic coasters I went on the trip really surprised me. They were really good, and this was no exception. Moving away from the roller coasters onto the thrill rides. I mean, in fairness, Kings Island also has some really decent thrill rides. I mean, the drop tower is pretty insane. It's over 300 foot high. You can see for miles. One thing to note is the restraint system does seem to be pretty tight. So if you are pretty tall, big, rotund, you might have a little bit of trouble getting on this thing. Be careful. I'd definitely test it out before queuing. And also the Derillium, the kind of Huss giant frisbee. Now I tend to be a huge fan of these kind of like frisbee style rides, but I was left slightly disappointed by the ones in the States, and this one was no exception. It's a little bit, it flatters to see if you think it's going to be a lot better than it actually is, and it's like, it's okay, it's good fun, but it's not exactly anywhere near as good as Maelstrom, unfortunately. Following that, we do have a bit of a stoker in the Congo Falls, which is a bit of a classic. kind of tidal wave style ride. All of the major Cedar Fair parks seem to have one of these, and they're good fun. But they're nothing too special. They're literally just a lift and then a drop, and then you get absolutely soaked. They did also have an Invertigo, which is a Vekoma Invertigo model, which is pretty much a boomerang. If that makes any sense to anyone who is an enthusiast, good luck with it. Pretty much, it's pretty much a ride which is suspended under the track, which goes up, drops, goes through a couple of elements in terms of inversions, goes up another little spike, and then back through them. They're all pretty similar. This one just happens to be suspended under the track as opposed to above. Nothing too special to write home about. They do have a wind seeker, which unfortunately was open to start with in the day. Took a few photos, went to ride something, and it was closed. It was a little bit disappointing, but yeah, now they're generally quite good. Through where to go, tend to be quite enjoyable. They also, and it's not necessarily a ride, but it's really cool. They have the Eiffel Tower kind of replica, which I believe is 1/3 the size of the actual Eiffel Tower, and it's really, really cool. I love the fact that your fast pass gets you up there quickly. You get some great views, great shots of the rest of the park. Yeah, really, really cool. Really impressed with that. Obviously, they have a whole Planet Snoopy area as well, which I didn't really spend much time exploring because it's not really my sort of area. There's not really my sort of rides or attractions in there, but great for kids, great for families. They do also have a Rapids ride, which is absolutely insane. It's so good, so enjoyable. I had a lot of fun riding it. The video is already on my channel for it as well. But yeah, that was really, really, really enjoyable. And I'd highly recommend going on that. Overall, my thoughts of the park were incredibly incredibly positive, and the look to the future was incredibly promising as well. This is a park where the only ride they really are lacking is a Giga Coaster ride over 300 foot. And if they were to add that, they'd have one hell of a park, and they already have a great park at the minute. I'll put it this way, I'm reading back through Wikipedia to make sure I haven't missed any of their roller coasters. That's how many roller coasters they actually have at this park. They're all difficult to keep a track of, and they're all of a really high standard. The park as well was really, really presentable, really clean and well kept. I found it was a little bit congested because obviously it was a busy day, and some of the footpaths, which are probably big enough normally, were a little bit squeezed. And also, it doesn't have the greatest layout. It's a little bit kind of all over the place with where things are. But again, there's nothing too worrying about that. It kind of happens, that sort of thing. They do have a couple of upcharge attractions as well. Didn't bother with those, unfortunately, because, having already done Vertigo Oakwood, kind of seeing them has been a little bit pointless. But if you've been there for the first time, you can always go for one. The food, very much similar to what you get at other Cedar Fair parks. Lots of burritos, pizza, and that sort of, shindig. It's a little bit cool, though, that there's like a kind of building, a food hall, which is just massive. Just needs to go on forever, It comes out of nowhere, but there's loads of food options in there. Overall, the park was really well kept, really presentable. The staff were also really, really friendly. Unfortunately, a couple of rides broke down, and a couple of them weren't really worth queuing for. The fast pass was an excellent decision, and also this park linked in with our Cedar Fair Platinum passes, which is one of the main reasons we actually went there, because it was very justifiable going to a park where you don't have to pay for parking and you don't have to pay for the entrance to it. I do think the front gate could do with a bit of a redo. It seems a bit dated, especially when you've gone to see the fair recently, where that has a really impressive front gate. Hopefully this is a park which could open a couple more rides. I mean, I think personally they could do with a flying roller coaster as well. I think, not flying roller coaster, a ring coaster, that would be excellent. But also they could probably do with a Giga Coaster as well. That's one of the ride rumours. A little bit disappointed they didn't have a major log flume. They did have one, but it's a little bit on the small side. Overall, I was really, really happy with going there. I mean, it took a little bit of time to get down there for Sandusky, and that was like a little bit of a downside. And unfortunately, wasn't able to stay till later that night, where you have things like the Beast at night, which is apparently absolutely superb. But as a park, it probably has some of the best 4 roller coasters you'll get to go on. Beautiful mix of roller coasters. Generally speaking, a really, really good, clean, crisp park, which is on point. And I would highly recommend, if you do go there, to get the fast pass, get everything done. It's a top park, and I'd highly recommend going there. Reasonable food, same with the rest of the parks. It's just really kind of decent. Really good theme lands. No real complaints or anything from me about this one. I can't really think of anything negative to say, other than the racer was a bit of a letdown. I thought it'd be a really good ride, and it turned out to just be very meh. But that was literally the only real downside for the day, and the rest of it was really, really good. Anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed what ended up being a little bit of a journey at the end, but I've enjoyed the video from myself. This has been Theme Park Information, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.